Mr. Chairman, the Stafford Act, it authorizes the President to allocate disaster resources at the request of the Governor when the emergency exists for which the primary responsibility for response rests with the federal government. In 2016, the Governor of Florida declared an emergency when the federal government discharged billions of gallons of toxic water into my district and other districts throughout Florida. At one point, over 4 million gallons per minute laden with green algae, which you will see in a video in just a few moments. Florida asked the President, under the authority granted by the Stafford Act, for help to remove the toxic algal discharge that was discharged by the Corps of Engineers to these separate coastal bodies of water. It killed fish, it killed animals, it harmed humans, it contaminated water, it contaminated food, it inflicted municipal health emergencies. It closed whole industries that imposed economic loss that economists are still struggling to calculate to this day. It destroyed ecosystems, causing chain reactions of broad environmental consequences that the scientific community is still trying to understand to this day. Florida was 2 times denied by the Obama administration an emergency declaration and federal resources under Section 501B of the Federal Stafford Act, citing that supplemental federal assistance under the Stafford Act was not appropriate for this event. So, Mr. Chairman, I do ask unanimous consent to enter into the record the following items. Denial for disaster assistance dated July 15, 2016 and August 25, 2016.
Without objection, so ordered.
The amendment that I'm offering, it simply adds that clarity to the Stafford Act by listing toxic algal blooms resulting from the Corps of Engineers flood control efforts as an example of an emergency for which the United States exercises exclusive or preeminent responsibility and authority. This amendment makes no change to the procedure or authority of the President to declare an emergency. It only adds an example. It adds the clarity that has been cited as missing of a disaster event that warrants consideration. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, they do routinely discharge toxic into our Florida rivers, both preemptively and also in response to natural disasters. We've had 4 months of discharges as a result of Hurricanes Irma and Marina this year. I hope that I can count on my colleagues on this committee to work with me on untying the hands of the executive branch to provide the accountability that we all deserve from federally caused disasters. In that, I would ask that you please direct your attention to the screens to see the video of what this disaster looks like, and that you thank God that you don't have to smell it or breathe it yourself.
I'm at the Port Mayaca Lock and Dam on Lake Okeechobee, and when water levels in the big lake get too high, those gates open and all that water comes rushing toward our coastal communities.
February 5th, 2016. The Army Corps of Engineers announced it would begin releasing the maximum amount of water from Lake Okeechobee to the St. Lucie estuary.
Jump 3 months later, blue-green algae was spotted along the St. Lucie riverbanks. Signs went up in some areas warning people not to come into contact with the water.
June, high levels of toxins were found where the algae blooms were inches thick. The toxins that could be in the air are putting their health at risk.
The short-term acute exposure can cause very massive liver failure, longer-term liver damage, reduced liver function, and ultimately liver cancer.
Besides attacking the liver, scientists fear worse damage from what they call HABs. 61 people died after algae blooms at several freshwater lakes.
And with that, Chairman, I yield back.